Hello, and welcome back to this podcast.
That still remains nameless.
And it will until we think of something that is worth naming. I'm Tanner, and this is Taylor.
Greetings.
And today we are going to be following up on our previous episode where we talked about Kenobi, the Disney Plus series, and also Stranger Things. We are halfway through Kenobi at this point. We've watched episodes 1 through 3, which is all that's released to this date. And then we are also all the way through part 1 of season 4 of Stranger Things.
So, huge spoiler alert for anyone who's about to be listening to this. We're talking about everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah, if you have any intention of watching either of these shows, and you haven't yet, definitely don't listen to this. Definitely go watch it, then come back, listen to our thoughts. And we'd like to hear yours as well. But we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to start with Stranger Things. So, Taylor, I have a question for you.
Let's hear it.
How surprised were you by the twist ending in episode 7?
Okay, so there were parts of it that were super surprising to me. I didn't expect the biggest thing. I didn't expect him to be the child of the guy living in the big creepy house.
Right. Him being one or Vecna.
Or Vecna. I knew something was up with that guy though. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I knew something was up with him, though.
Yeah.
My thought was he was trying to get the portals opened, or maybe even get Elle hurt for some reason. It seemed like somehow he was already linked with the Upside Down. That's something we haven't really, that hasn't been confirmed yet, but I feel like he kind of has before Elle opened the door, the gate,
send him through the gate. Yeah.
I think he may have had some kind of inclination already as to it just existing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, we kind of get his background in episode 7 painted more clearly for us, and he's kind of talking about how he had this strange affiliation with spiders and the solidarity,
solidarity, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the right word. And him just feeling like he was better than everyone, pretty much. Which was interesting. And it makes me wonder, why did he feel that way so strongly? Why did he have powers in the first place? Because that's not something that they've explained to us in detail yet.
Yeah, it seems like with the rest of the kids, and even with Elle, they were just normal kids that were experimented on.
Based on this guy's DNA or something like that,
yeah.
Right? By one.
Yeah. So something with this guy was, he had powers before he ever met Papa or anything.
Right, he is the first one and everything, which is really interesting. Something I never even thought about them painting out until now, really. Which, it's a really important part of the backstory. Why does Elle even exist, right?
Yeah, that's true. I thought initially, as this season was unfolding, and as we realized that Papa's actually not a bad person. Well, he's not, he doesn't have evil intentions.
Right.
I thought that the kids might have been created to combat against the gates and anything that was in the Upside Down, but it seems like those weren't even open before 1.
Yeah.
So
yeah, before 11 did it accidentally. That seems like it may have been the first instance, at least that we know of.
So we don't really know why. Like, I don't know. It's like it kind of throws everything that we thought we've known about
the Upside
Down, and the kids in general, especially 11. It just kind of throws all of it out the window.
Yeah.
So we're kind of starting over again with all of that.
Yeah, we kind of are. We kind of have important backstory on the Upside Down now that we didn't have before, and maybe kind of showing us glimpses into the future and what next season and the second half of season 4 might look like. So obviously I have some predictions. I don't want to get it to that quite yet. I'm sure you do as well for the second half of 4 and into season 5. Let's just talk about more of our thoughts on different things throughout these episodes and some of our favorite points and stuff like that. You go ahead and go first.
I mean, episode 1, bro. Like, just straight out of the gate, we knew this season was going to be different. So, Tanner and I watched episodes 1 through 5 starting at about 10:30 on a Friday night.
When it released.
And just carried straight into the next day. So, we watched from about 10:30 to like 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought I was going to be kind of over it, like after 2 episodes. But holy crap, man. So it starts off with just chaos.
Yeah.
And with no context either.
Yeah, so it shows us what happens, what they explain in episode 7 shows us that right away. We have no point of reference for this at all because it's something that we haven't even seen before. Has a few characters that we've seen before, like obviously 11 is there in the
rainbow room.
Rainbow room, yeah. And then Dr. Brenner is there as well, of course, Papa. And then otherwise it's just chaos. We haven't seen any of these other kids that it shows before, and then they're all just dead. Right? And then we see 11 at the end, and it seems like she had killed all of these people.
Yeah.
She's got blood all over her. She's got blood running from her eyes.
Her nose.
Yeah. And we're just thinking like, oh, how did we not know this? What just happened?
And it really just like sets the tone for the rest of the series. This is so far from season 1 as far as just like overall feeling goes. Like, I mean, I'm a grown-ass adult, and it terrified me at times. Like, it was so intense. Edge of my seat, like, literally freaking me out.
Yeah.
Compared to season 1, I mean, we're just dealing with a Demogorgon, which is kind of, like, the image and the violence of it is frightening, but it's not, like...
It's almost more about just seeing it and knowing that, like, behind the scenes there was this creepy thing that was terrifying. We didn't, like, see exactly what was happening. We saw just brief glimpses.
Yes.
And even, like, with Barb's death, they don't show us how she dies. They just show her, like, being pulled back into the pool, right?
And that's it. It's all just kind of innuendo. Yeah,
and you hear the sound of the Demogorgon, which are terrifying sounds. But they're not showing us as much in season 1, which now they're showing us everything and in detail, and it's terrifying.
And you get to the point where Chrissy dies, and it's so far out of left field, bro. Like, I was not expecting that at all.
Me neither.
So her arm snaps, leg snaps, jaw gets like freaking dislocated, and then her eyes just like implode.
Yep.
Which was psycho.
Yeah, and then it just ends. That's the end of the first episode.
And then the credits roll, and that's it.
Yeah. And they show us a lot of Vecna right away too. So in the scene leading up to right where Chrissy dies, you know, he's like, he talks and he's like stalking her through her house, showing her things from her past that she feels guilt or grief about.
The dad is like sewn to a chair by his hands. His mouth is sewn closed. His eyelids are sewn closed.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not implied. That's shown. All of that is something that's like shown.
Right. Yeah. So right away, we're getting this intro into the villain that we haven't had before, where with the Mind Flayer is kind of alluded to, we saw glimpses of in season 2 and 3 with Will.
And it like leads up to a big violent
reveal,
like with Billy and everything like that.
Yeah.
Even then, it's like Billy is getting victims. It's not like
it's not the same.
It's not shown really, you know.
Yeah.
Until at the very end, when it like does kill Billy,
which is pretty brutal.
It is, yeah. But again, like this is episode 1.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, kids are dead. Chrissy gets like literally mutilated from something that we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like we
Something
have no clue what this is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the thing about the Mind Flayer is it doesn't communicate unless it's through a host.
Yeah.
You know? And this seems like its own separate entity.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild.
Mm-hmm. And the Mind Flayer has not been known to kill anyone while he's been in, other than when he was in the physical, like, creepy monster form.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, stop.
And again, it's not really the Mind Flayer doing that, but just a host.
Right.
Except for, like, with Billy.
Yeah. Stop. Bo is being wild for no reason right now. Okay. Yeah, so it's interesting to see the villain be so different. And when, like, once you know the reveal, and it kind of makes sense that it is so different, because, I mean, this is a human that's just been transformed into a being that resides in the Upside Down.
Mm-hmm.
And he's using the powers that he's always had, just kind of in a different way, even more violent. And he's using the powers of the Upside Down to be able to, like, invade people's minds in a way that we didn't think was possible.
Yeah. And it seems like... So right now the theory amongst at least the kids is that he is a general for the Mind Flayer. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I could see where maybe they have like a mutual understanding, because I think their goal, ultimately, both of their goals is the same, right? They want to take over the normal world, right? Mm-hmm. That's what the Mind Flayer is. That's what one says his goal is, what Vecna says his goal is. In the 7th episode, he's like, I'm better than everyone. Yeah. They're all just pests. Mm-hmm. All humankinds are a bunch of pests. So they both want to destroy everything. So that's, I think, the only thing they really have in common, and they both reside in the Upside Down, obviously.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're both just power hungry. There's no way that that power battle works with them working together.
Yeah, I don't think so. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when, because I think the Mind Flayer is kind of just subdued right now after season 3.
Yeah, exerted a lot of energy in season 3.
And, you know, maybe that's why Vecna is like taking this chance. Because we haven't seen or heard of Vecna doing anything in the previous seasons.
Yeah, it could be he's even scared of the Mind Flayer. He knows that he's not as powerful.
Totally could be. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see. Something that I loved. So I mean, the highlight of the season for me is when Max is with Vecna, and
episode 4,
and she ends up like getting to his fortress, if you will, like, and he's got her trapped there, and you know, Dusty and Lucas and Steve are on the other side with Max's physical body, and they play her Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude. And she's just like booking it back to get back with her friends and everything like that.
Yeah.
Awesome scene. Shot really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. super powerful with the music. Vecna's just throwing things out of the sky at her from his own mind at that point, because she invades his mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's throwing things at her, trying to stop her any way he can so that he can kill her and take her, right? Man.
So awesome.
And she just falls back to her physical form.
And they all like crowd around her and everything like that. It's such a, like, the symbolism is so cool that it's like music that brings her back. Mm-hmm. That's so freaking cool. I was talking to my friend at school today about this, so this is kind of jumping the gun a little bit. I have a theory based on things that are foreshadowed in the first episode. I think Dustin's going to die, or something really bad is going to happen to Dustin. So, episode 1 of season 4, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they have to go against Vecna. Which is really it's a character from Dungeons and Dragons.
That's where they get the name. That's for all of the bad.
Yeah, the Demogorgon, the Mind Flayer, Vecna. They're all from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
So they have this option to flee or to fight, and Dustin is the one who says we should fight to the death. And it comes down to a point where Dustin rolls. It's really close. They're either going to be defeated or they're going to win at this point. Dustin rolls the dice and misses, which is the same exact thing that happened to Will in season 1. They start at season 1, episode 1. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. It comes down to Will, and he misses his dice roll. And that's like foreshadowing of him ending up in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
So I think something is going to happen to Dusty. Something not good.
I can see it. Totally. Which is really sad, because Dustin's one of my favorites easily. He's probably the most likable character out of almost anyone.
It would be such a powerful scene to watch, especially if he like saves Steve or something like that.
And dies in the process.
But it was okay, so when I was talking to my friend at school about this, we were talking about how crazy it would be if he gets stuck, and how he's pulled out is his girlfriend sings Never Ending Story to him. And she's like crying and stuff, but she's like still sings it and everything, and that's what pulls him out.
What a callback that would be. That'd be pretty cool. Susie. Shout out to Susie in Salt Lake,
Shout out to Suze.
Helping the boys hack and whatnot.
Other shenanigans.
Yep, as always. But just throughout the entire season, it's intense the entire time. Yeah. For one, for sure. And I feel like I think it was a good call to separate them and have like 4 different storylines happening all at once.
Yeah.
Which is something that the Duffer Brothers, who created Stranger Things, they really like to do. They kind of have done this over the last few seasons even since season 1, really, where you have Joyce kind of trying to figure out Will and doing the lights and stuff, and then you have the kids kind of figuring stuff out on their own.
You got Hopper doing stuff. You have Nancy and Steve and Jonathan.
Right. They kind of love to do this, which is really interesting. It's like you're reading a book.
It's very Tolkien-esque.
Exactly.
Extremely Tolkien-esque.
And as you say that, I feel like we need to jump into theories a little bit, just real quick.
Let's go for it.
Because that's my theory. This may not be for this season, but for next. And with the Tolkien direct lore being brought into this season, where Dustin asks Eddie if he'll go to Mordor with him, and Eddie's like, it's
a bad idea, man.
But the Shire is burning. So he goes, and they go together, and that has got me thinking even more. Like, for the bad guys specifically, this has got to be a Two Towers type thing coming together, right? Where you have the Mind Flayer being Sauron, not having a physical form, for one. That's one connection.
And now in a weakened state.
He had to go back and hide, right? pretty interesting. I mean, coincidence maybe, but let me keep going. Then you have this new guy that comes in with all this newfound power, who is connected to characters already,
and is a part of an organization that has the same powers and responsibilities as him.
Right.
The Astari.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Dustin, in one of the first few episodes, calls Vecna a dark wizard. Which, I mean, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to me.
It just screams Saruman.
It does. It's so hard it screams Saruman. And I love Saruman's character. I think he's super intriguing.
Yeah.
And which we'll talk about Lord of the Rings another time because we both love it. But, I mean, just the parallels are almost uncanny in my mind. I could be building it up just because I think it would be so cool because we love Lord of the Rings so much. But I just feel like that's what they're setting up right now. Is they're setting it up to be a Two Towers type of ending for this season, going into maybe a Return of the King grand ending for season 5.
And I mean, another thing to add to that, it looks like Vecna has different kinds of soldiers than the Mind Flayer does. The Mind Flayer, he has Demogorgons, and the Vecna has these weird bat things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that even though Vecna is a foreign entity in the Upside Down, he has power over its what's the word? Habitants? It's residents
and some of that hive mind.
So it's interesting that he is able to have his own kind of army, even though they're originally from the Upside Down and he's not.
Yeah. Which, that in itself is similar to Saruman. Because, originally, like you said, he's just a great wizard that was meant to protect Middle-earth. But he gets almost seduced by these dark ideas and wants all the power for himself.
And what it really is with Saruman is the same with one.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm better than these guys.
Yeah.
I'm no longer Saruman the White, I'm Saruman of many colors.
Yeah.
You can't confine me to one thing.
He views himself as the ultimate being. And his quest ultimately is to find the One Ring so that he can become more powerful than Sauron and destroy him.
So what is Vecna's One Ring, bro?
Exactly.
I haven't thought about that before. What's he looking for?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's part of what I think that he is looking for 11. I think he's looking for 11 in Hawkins. I think that's his purpose for killing people right now. And for some reason, the killing people is probably just because, for one, he thinks it makes him more powerful. Maybe it does, right? Because you see him in his own mind, he kind of has their corpses, I guess, in his mind.
As trophies.
As a trophy. So it's almost like he becomes more and more powerful everyone he kills. And to his knowledge, 11 never escaped Hawkins and the lab, right?
Right.
And, I'm sure this dude is super vengeful for what happened to him.
For sure.
And he's searching for 11 because maybe if he's able to destroy 11, he knows that he has enough power to take on
the Mind Flayer. That's wild, bro. That's wild. I haven't thought about that. If he absorbs power of some kind. He's got all those freaking tubes plugged into him, and it seems like more and more and more tubes as the series continues.
Which that seems to be the source of how he's able to access the minds of people in the overworld. I guess is he can't kill anyone unless he's attached those tubes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I'm not sure exactly what that could mean yet. I haven't thought about that all too much, but I'm sure it has some significance.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. It'll be really interesting because someone who is just a perfect victim for Vecna is Hopper. Hopper's a perfect victim. Someone who is just has tormented with so much guilt.
Yeah.
You know?
Endless. And he talks about it a lot this season in several episodes as well. The only thing is, Hopper's kind of out of his demographic.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, I don't know how much that means, but...
We have to imagine he'll be getting back at some point, though.
Yeah.
I mean...
That'll be another storyline in itself to wonder what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked about that at all either, but... I mean, Joyce...
He's Gandalf, bro. Dude, he's Gandalf. Hopper is Gandalf.
He actually is.
He's coming back as the White, bro.
Oh my gosh. Dude. Is Elle Aragorn?
Is she Aragorn or is she Frodo, bro?
Well, I don't know, because
It's tough. Well, no, she's not, because you have Mike, Will, Dusty, Lucas, the 4 hobbits.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Elle's gotta be Aragorn.
Elle's gotta be Aragorn. Return of the King, dude.
Frick, dude.
Return of the King, dude.
That's wild. Honestly, though, that's the crazy thing about Lord of the Rings is it's like... It really is a story about Aragorn.
Yeah.
It's just we hardly hear about it.
Yeah. It's just we hear it all from the Hobbit's point of view.
Uh-huh.
Which is intended, obviously.
Which is kind of what we're seeing right now, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
We're seeing
it's the
through
story
these-
of Elle told through the 4 kids.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild, man.
Man. This is crazy the more we think about this. The parallels we draw. I love it. We love this stuff so much. And this show has been so good, so well written, so well directed. Everything about it is, like Taylor said earlier, both of us didn't think we'd be able to stay up all night watching these episodes. Literally for like 8 hours we've watched. And we only got through 5 and a little bit episodes. But, I mean, it's just amazing how it keeps you stuck in the episode, makes you need to watch the next one immediately after finishing.
Yeah. Because you do end up caring about the characters so much. Like, you just want to know what happens with them. It's not even necessarily the story, but just it's not what happens next in the story, but what happens to these characters that we have come to care about so much.
Yep. And you almost care about all of them equally. I mean, obviously people are going to have their favorites. I mean, we both loved Dustin, like we mentioned. We both loved Steve, who was the douche at first. But we love Steve now. Steve is awesome. We love all of the kids in general you really like. Mike is a little bit...
Mike's iffy
hard
for me. I like Mike, but I don't.
Yeah, same. And obviously it's impossible to not love 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially last season, I was like, man, 11 is the bomb in season 3.
Just took everything on herself, bro.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy to see what kind of power she unlocks now, knowing that it wasn't her that killed all those freaking kids.
Escaping that traumatic experience. Which is also, I love that kind of mental health type story that they told as well, which is really interesting, talking about PTSD and trauma and those traumatic experiences that our minds just block out because of the terrible fallout we had from them.
Yeah, very true. There's kind of a lot of that. I mean, even with Hopper,
Yeah.
he just uses he has a lot of different vices that he uses to deal with the trauma of losing a child and his wife and everything like that, and seeing how he overcomes everything. We kind of touched on that a little bit in our last episode about the cave and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Hopper is a great character. As they all are, as we love them all. Okay, so I know each of us have talked about a few predictions we have already. Do we want to jump back into that? Is there more that we want to talk about there?
predictions, I'm not sure if I really have any like good predictions for the rest of it. Just kind of speculation. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Nancy right now with Steve.
I think one of them dies.
Between Nancy and Steve?
Yeah. I really think Steve's gonna die. Which it pains me to say.
I really freaking hope not, bro.
I think if Steve dies, Dustin won't die. I think one of them dies for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. I don't prefer either anyway, but that's one prediction I have personally, is that Steve will die. You already talked about you think Dustin will die. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they pull all the characters back together for the last few, because they're obviously all have to kind of go back to Hawkins, right? Get rid of Vecna, at least in some capacity.
Yeah. Kind of random, like not necessarily related to what you just said. Something they've done really amazing is like, so they've introduced several new characters this season. Love all of them. Like, I feel like that is a very underrated thing that they've done. Each season they've introduced new characters.
Yeah.
And we love them every time, you know?
Almost flawlessly. Even if it's just brief for the characters, even if it's, like for Max, she wasn't originally in it, but she's been a great character for the last 3 seasons, ever since season 2 when she was introduced.
And I really like Eddie now.
Yeah.
Eddie's awesome.
Eddie's been great.
He's so cool.
Yeah, he's a really good balance between kind of being older but having kind of the same mindset as some
Still
of the
a
younger
nerd
guys.
and everything. Yeah, it's
fun.
very interesting. It's a cool dynamic that he brings to the plot lines.
Yeah,
and everything.
very different from Steve or Nancy or
even very different from Jonathan.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Even though he's kind of like in their same age range,
Right. Yeah, they do a good job of adding diversity. Not even meaning that in the way of like skin color or anything like that. Just adding diverse characters that bring something different to the table every time. Like Robin too. Last year, I wasn't sure about Robin at first. Bo.
But she's become one of my favorites too. She's really cool.
Yeah. Her dialogue to convince the psych ward guy to let them talk to
that was awesome.
Victor Creel? I don't remember those last names for sure. But, I mean, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was way cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
She's a good character.
Something else that is, like, really, really cool to see is that the kids not one of them has become a bad actor. It's not like they were just like cute kids and now it's like I don't know about this. Like, they all do a really, really good job, especially Millie Bobby Brown. She does so well in her role.
Yeah, evolving her character while also like still showing how messed up her childhood was, just in like her normal interactions with people, is really cool. It's really interesting. Makes her, I don't know about relatable, because I think it's pretty hard to relate to that, but a really interesting character that we wouldn't necessarily see.
Yeah, it's cool to see, like, the most powerful among them is the one who really does, like, struggle the most with everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Overall, though, amazing season. I think it's just as good as any other, if not one of the best.
Yeah. It's really hard to say. I mean, it will kind of depend on the ending, considering we haven't officially finished Season 4 yet. We'll have to wait until July 1st for that.
Jeez.
Which is another almost month away. Ugh. But, I mean, I'm way more excited for that now than I was for even the start of Season 4. Because there have been so much time that passed from season 3, which was almost like 3 years ago when it
Yeah.
released now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, a great show.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about it again in a little while once we have more to talk about. Anyway, jumping into Kenobi now.
I just watched all 3 of the episodes that are out. Tanner has seen them a couple times now.
Yep, I've seen a lot of like the coolest clips 4 or 5 times, but watched completely through twice now because I just watched all of them with Taylor as well.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I think there are some points that could be divisive because I think Star Wars fans are insane,
Fair.
to put it lightly. And hi, Lex.
Hello,
Say
Lexi.
hi to the pod.
Hello.
But I mean, there's so much good they've already done and added to the story, I think, already with just these 3 episodes of Kenobi.
For sure. There are a lot of things that I really like about it. There's a handful of things that I am not overly fond of.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with the things that kind of bug me a little bit.
Go for it.
The Inquisitors. We have 0 reference as to how powerful they are.
Yeah.
We have seen how just like douchey they are and how they have like no regard for human life.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's like Obi-Wan is running from these guys, but we don't know how powerful they actually are, you know?
Yeah.
So we kind of understand, like, he doesn't want to mess with them, so obviously, they'd cause him some grief. But I don't know, it doesn't make it like as much of a threat, I feel like, because we haven't seen them really do anything. Even 3 episodes deep, we haven't seen them do anything other than just kind of harass powerless people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to... I mean, as someone who knows a lot more about Star Wars and has seen a lot more of like the expanded universe that's still considered canon by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So like Rebels, for example, which we briefly mentioned last time, has the Inquisitors, has a lot of these Inquisitors as characters in that show. Even there, it's kind of the same thing. It's hard to gauge how powerful they are. There are some clips in that show where you can tell like they're not even close to as powerful as Vader, which the average fan would have no idea, right?
Yeah.
So they show up in the first episode of this, and they have red lightsabers, and you're like, oh, there's a bunch more Sith that I didn't know about? Which, it's really hard to kind of introduce that without some background. And they kind of, in that opening scene with the Inquisitors in the first episode, they kind of talk about a little bit what they are. They're Jedi hunters.
Mm-hmm.
They work for the Empire. But that's really all the background you get. So, like you said, there's no knowledge on how exactly how powerful they are.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
So that has bugged me because I feel like we're just kind of missing an element on that as far as just like intensity, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's bugged me. I hated that whole chase scene with Leia, like the initial one when they kidnap her. Hated that.
Yeah, it was a little too much. He's speaking about the bounty hunters when they initially kidnap Leia from Alderaan. Yeah, it's a little bit cheesy.
She's just like crawling under stuff that they could like step over, and they're like, foiled at every turn.
Yeah, cheesy.
Super didn't like that.
I agree, and I think they're trying to make Leia seem cool, even like skilled as a 10-year-old. But
it's kind of unnecessary. It's fine for 3 grown adults to come up and just kidnap her.
Yeah.
We don't really need anything else.
Yeah.
I
I agree.
I
One of my pain points as well.
I think they also need to lay off a little bit on Leia's spunkiness. Because it's even more than Padme is in the Clone Wars. And Padme is like really like, I don't care what anyone says. Like,
Very independent. just does whatever she feels is best, even if it's not necessarily best for everyone else.
And this is like a 10-year-old kid, and it's overkill.
Yeah.
You know? Her super witty, like, dialogue and stuff. I'm like, she's a freaking 10-year-old kid, dude. Like, I don't know. How they've written her kind of bugs me a little bit.
I agree and I don't agree. I agree that there has been too much of her in general.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, is fine. I get that you probably want to put her in this. And it's a good reason for Obi-Wan to have to leave Tatooine to go and save Leia, right?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense for the story. But is it really necessary? Because after the third episode, it points where that's what this whole thing is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Instead of Obi-Wan on Tatooine protecting Luke, which is, until this had released, that's what we thought. That's all he did.
Yeah.
I agree, there's been too much of not on Tatooine already.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to deal with Leia's storyline.
I think something that's really funny, not necessarily funny, and this isn't like a complaint or anything, I just think it's like, I think it's intentionally ironic. Obi-Wan only uses a blaster for the first 2 3/4 episodes.
Yep.
You know? And it just, you know, when that's how he kills Grievous, and he throws it aside, so uncivilized, you know? Yeah. And that's all he uses, because he's just this grungy little, like, cave dweller.
Yeah.
Which just speaks exactly to his identity, you know? Now he's like, I'm not it, bro. I can't use a lightsaber.
No, he's not a Jedi Master anymore. He's just an average citizen where, what else is he going to do but use a blaster?
It's like he doesn't like see himself as worthy to use a lightsaber.
I think that's true. Any other complaints that you have, though?
I don't love how much they're focusing on this Inquisitor chick.
Yeah.
I don't really care about her background at all.
We talked about that as well, yeah.
It was one of our concerns going into it, and it's not like... I don't know. Something that... This is like kind of going off the rails a little bit. Something that a lot of anime does really, really well is like it shows the villain's perspective based on their upbringing and their story. And you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. But this is just like, it just keeps teasing it and teasing it and teasing it.
Yeah.
You know, the other Inquisitors are like, you're not one of us, like you were in the gutter, all this stuff. But we don't actually know, and I feel like by the time it reveals it, it's going to be like, I don't care. Like, I already don't like you, and your story's not like... I feel like it's just not going to be sad enough. It's going to be like, well, like, my parents died. So, like, all that hate.
Yeah.
Or even if she was, like, if she was a Padawan at the Jedi Temple when Order 66 came out, which is kind of what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
It's like, well, like... I freaking hate the Jedi because, like, they pulled me away from my parents when I was a kid. Or even, like, well, I hate Obi-Wan because, like, he didn't kill Anakin. And if he would have, like, everything might have been okay. You know? It's not... I feel like there's not going to be a good enough, like, oh, shoot, okay. That is pretty tough, and I do see where you're coming from. You know?
Yeah.
She's a very simple character so far.
Yeah. I agree. And knowing this is one of my main pain points with the series as well. Definitely this Reva character, can't quite remember how to pronounce it. But like
the third sister.
Yeah, the third sister. First of all, I think I mentioned this before, but the third sister doesn't exist in future content. So she dies.
Yes.
Just gonna say that right away. And then again, I don't feel like I want to care about her at all.
Yeah.
And they haven't made me want to care about her at all either. I mean, she just comes off right away as this rash, super arrogant person.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't quite understand why. Like, all of the Inquisitors hate her. because of those reasons, because she kind of foils their plans and is trying to follow her own like agenda of getting to Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously they're going to explain why she's so obsessed with Kenobi, why she's trying to suck up to Vader so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's not what I want from this. I don't care why she feels this way. I understand maybe her plot point, the important parts of her character being like to reveal that she was at the Jedi Temple and saw Anakin there killing Jedi or younglings. Maybe she escaped from Anakin at some point, and that's how she knows that Vader is Anakin, because that's one of the main parts of Episode 2.
Yeah.
She tells Obi-Wan that Anakin's still alive, and that's the first time Obi-Wan has heard this.
And I hated that scene too. Kenobi.
Yeah.
What the hell was that, bro?
know.
This isn't like some... Oh, man. I did
Not some
not
hide-and-seek
like
game.
that. No.
Yeah.
I did not like that.
Me neither.
And again, that was another scene that was like, Obi-Wan is hiding from this chick, and we haven't seen this chick do anything, bro. And it's like, we have no reason to understand why Kenobi is like pissing his pants right now.
Other than like he hasn't used the Force, which we kind of figure out before this point, that he hasn't really done anything to do with the Force up to this point in the last 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. But still, why does he have any reason to be terrified of this person?
Who's like, all of the context that we get is she's bottom of the food chain of the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
You know, which is like, not even bottom of the food chain of the Sith, like of the Inquisitors, she's all
Bottom
the way
of
at
the
the bottom. Like she's just above like a stormtrooper captain
Pretty much.
in the food chain. And it's like, why is he so freaked out by her?
Yeah. And it could be that he's just on edge from everything. And I think actually Kenobi himself, for the most part, he's been written really well so far.
I do
They've
too.
done really well
too.
with his character. So no complaints there.
Yeah.
Do you have any other complaints before we jump into some positives and then our predictions, again, based off of what we've watched?
Honestly, it's just Leia and this Beva chick. Again, this is going back to anime again. Anyone who ever is going to write or create any kind of screenplay with a strong female character needs to watch anime, because it just comes off as so like try-hardy, you know, like I'm powerful and a woman, you know. It's like, why, like, oh, I'm this 10-year-old girl and I'm awesome and strong-headed but also compassionate. It's so dumb, dude. Like, it's like screaming, like, see, look what a female can do. Of course a female can.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's no need to... you never see, like with Obi-Wan, like, even though he's, like, caring for this kid, it's never like, I was a general in a war, but I still have compassion for a child, even though I'm a man. And like, it never feels like that, you know, because there's no need to. And it's the same thing with female characters. Like, anyone who's listening to this, watch anime and see how, like Tsunade in Naruto, it's never like, oh, I'm powerful and the first female Hokage. It's like, no, like, she's just a dope Hokage. Like, there's nothing like
her sex
crazy
doesn't
about
matter at all.
Nothing. I mean, I don't know. It's just, that's something that's really frustrating to me. I think especially just in American cinema and TV, anytime there's a female character. Captain Marvel, same thing. Wonder Woman, same thing. It's like, these are badass characters on their own. Like, you don't have to make, like Captain Marvel, why do you have to make her so butch? Like, why can't she just be like a badass superhero, not a badass female superhero? You know?
Yep.
I don't know. It just seems super forced and bugs me. That's a rant, sorry, but
No, it's okay. Thank you. And I agree, especially relating to Star Wars and then those other movies you mentioned as well. But this is something they consistently have been getting wrong since Disney bought them. I mean,
Yeah.
Rey is one of the most bland, uninteresting characters you could ever write in history. Let's not even get started on her. We could rant about Rey another time.
I'm gonna say one thing on that though. Actually,
Go for it.
going to the backstory again, it builds and builds and builds, and it just keeps like inferring that she just has the worst backstory. And then when it finally gets to the reveal, you know how awful your backstory is? Yeah, me too. And that's it. It's like, it's so bad, I'm not even gonna talk about it. It's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's it. You've literally spent 2.5 movies building up to this. Well, you know how bad it is? You got Palpatine sperm swimming in your blood. How about that? That's like the worst that it is, bro. And it's like, are you serious? Like,
Yeah.
we don't get to see her as like a really like just like going through it as a kid, digging through the scraps or anything. Not as a small girl, just as a kid, like vulnerable and going through it. None of that. It's just like, yeah, you know what? Your background sucks, dude.
The most evil person ever is your grandfather.
How you like that? Chew on that for a minute, Ray.
Put that in your Wheaties, Ray.
And guess what? We're not even gonna make Finn a main character anymore.
Nope, because he's black.
Oh gosh,
Let's
those
not get
movies
started
are
on him.
so bad, dude.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about those for right now. That can be another rant for another episode, another day.
It's just something that they've been doing so poorly. We had none of that with Padme.
Yeah.
You know, Padme was just, especially in Clone Wars, Padme and Ahsoka, it was never like, yeah, well, like, what about the females? It was just Ahsoka out there dual wielding, doing some dope stuff.
Ahsoka is an incredibly well-written character. And you see her development throughout the Clone Wars as well.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Has
And-
nothing to do with her being female or like, yeah, well, I gotta prove some stuff because like there's just like hardly any female masters or hardly any females on the council, like, and that's my goal. Nah, like she was just out there doing sick stuff and being a good Jedi.
Yeah. As you should.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing back to Stranger Things. I mean, 11 is a female character, and she is written incredibly well, and it's not about her being a female either.
No. Same with Max. Same with Joyce. Same with Nancy.
Yeah.
They're all just out there doing the thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, Joyce is like having to do these things and working 2 jobs as a single mother. It's like she just has a hard life.
Yeah, and she just has to deal with it because that's what she's used to. She doesn't have to complain about it for us to understand her struggle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's tough, man. That's something that I just don't understand.
Yeah, I agree. And that has been... I don't feel quite as strongly as you do about the Leia thing, but I can see it. With Reva, I definitely feel that. Back to the Kenobi.
Yeah.
And then, if that's all you have, this is going to be my very main complaint. And this is just because I am a Darth Vader nerd. So, he didn't go hard enough.
No.
Based on everything we know about Vader,
No, that's true.
he's been waiting 10 years for this moment to get Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kind of like lazily, I mean... You can tell he's way stronger, and he knows he's way stronger. He can feel it immediately, right? When they're dueling at the end of episode 3. But, like, no way in...
I wanted him to, like, repeatedly slam that mofo into the fire over and over again. Like, there's not enough... I mean, because correct me if I'm wrong, but Vader's power is, like, from his anger and his rage.
Yeah.
You know?
His hate for Obi-Wan is, like, half of his power.
And he's cool as a cucumber that whole time. Mm-hmm. He's just like, yo, Kenobi, remember Mustafar, bitch? And just puts him in the fire. That's it.
Yeah.
But he's, like, totally cool about it. He's just like, he literally is like, no, you'll suffer like me.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's a really cool scene. I think that's an awesome scene. They did that well.
It just could have been so much harder.
And they should have done way more after that, too. There's no way that Vader would... Like, I don't understand how he could possibly just like let that happen. Let him escape so easily after.
And it's
And the
like
fire is just like, oh, this lady that helps people escape
killed one of my stormtroopers, and
and
now
there's more fire. I'm just gonna stand here.
and I also don't like leading up to that how there's just like the pile of minerals, like all the different piles of minerals, and Obi-Wan keeps getting his lightsaber out and then just putting it away and running, and Vader's like, I guess I gotta limp over there.
Yeah.
And then like the scene, so then it gets to the point where like he like kind of rolls him around in the fire a little bit, and Obi-Wan gets up and runs off, and Vader's like, man, literally the most powerful force in the universe foiled again by legs.
I know.
It's so dumb, dude. I'm like, come on.
There are so many things I feel like they could have done better with that scene.
Well, and they lead off like it's going to. He comes into the village, goes on a rampage, kills like 4 people just that for looking at him wrong.
Yeah.
He like the one dude, he starts off, he drags him out of the window by the force and chokes him to death, snaps his brother's neck, kills that lady just for being there.
Yeah.
And then he's like, now I'm gonna go soft on Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just so not his character.
No, not at all.
And, I mean, maybe this is not canon, but in comics, Vader would meditate under the lava in his suit. That's how, like, fireproof and element-proof his suit is.
So you could have just walked
He could have just walked through the fire. Why didn't he just walk through?
Or, like, I don't know, force it.
Use the Force. You could put it out with the Force. You're powerful. Jump over it.
You are bionic. Like, I'm pretty sure your legs could actually do
You
something.
could Force push yourself off the ground. Oh, jump over the fire. Like, why was this scene written that way?
If Leia can fly through space, you probably could just jump over a little pile of fire.
That's maybe 10 feet deep.
Maybe. I also I am a little bit disappointed with Ewan McGregor in that scene too. I'm like, dude, you are burning alive right now, bro. And he's just like, dude, you are burning, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
we need to hear some screams. Like Anakin screams.
Exactly, bro. I'm like, where is that energy, man?
Yeah, we needed that energy.
He's just like, oh, man, this sucks. Totally getting burned right now. Really hope this lady comes and just kills at least one of these 15 stormtroopers so I can peace, bro.
So I can just stand here and relax for a minute. This is really tiring.
It's like the 4th time you shot this scene. Gosh.
Tired of yelling about fire burns.
Give me a freaking Ricola over here.
I'm real thirsty. I need a Coke.
So stupid, dude. That whole scene was like, it was really cool and then just disappointing. No crescendo.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's something that they've been building up the entire time. All of the promotion and everything is like leading up to like, yeah, they're going to fight again.
I also think that they met too soon.
I think they're going to fight again in the end of this series. But
Like, even if that's the case, though, I think it was way too soon for them to actually, like, physically have an altercation.
yeah, I agree. I thought that they were going to somehow have Obi-Wan escape just before.
Which I really would have loved.
Yeah, I would have
For
preferred.
him to be like, yeah,
Can't do
I'm going
this.
to get wrecked by this kid.
Yeah.
Because he's like that. He won't face an Inquisitor, but he's like, Vader? Bet, bro.
Yeah.
It's what?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. Disappointing. And I don't want... I mean, right now it sounds like we are very not high on this series, not enjoying it. And I don't want to say that necessarily. There are just some things that... And like we said, our expectations were super, super high.
Yeah.
And I think as they should have been, as they should still be, considering the magnitude of these characters. And I think they can still do a lot to make it better. And who knows what the next few episodes will be. Hopefully they'll be really good. And our opinions will kind of change on all three of these main situations that we've just complained about.
Hopefully they get Leia back and home in this next episode, and that Reva chick dies.
That would be an ideal 4th episode. Yeah.
That would just turn everything around.
Yeah, it would.
I don't... I really don't love... I feel like the... what's the word that I'm looking for? The chase catalyst is a very hard one to do.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like it's almost kind of a cop-out because it's like it's going to keep it moving just by nature of it being a chase.
Right.
You know?
People have to keep moving, otherwise the story stops, or there has to be some conflict right away.
Yeah. So I think writing-wise, that's kind of a cop-out. But...
yeah. I agree. Hopefully, I mean... I don't know what to expect. I'm trying not to expect anything for these next 3 episodes. Just so I can have an open mind and try to enjoy it as much as possible. But hopefully we get like some... I mean, Vader should be super motivated now, right?
Yeah.
Now that he's seen Kenobi, he knows that he's attainable to go and get him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we need to see even more motivation from Vader.
Mm-hmm.
To kill, especially after that slip up that he had at the end where he just stands there. And hopefully less Leia chasing, like you said.
Yeah. That would make everything so much better.
Yeah, I agree.
Honestly, kind of disappointed with it so far, but...
yeah, me too. I'm trying to stay positive because sadly, Kenobi himself, I'm not disappointed with him at all. It's all of the other things. And my biggest point when we talked about this was before was like they need to get Vader right.
Yeah.
And they did up until the last 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like with him going out of his way to go to the planet where he knew Kenobi was. Yeah, that's on par.
Perfect. Yeah.
Killing random people just to get to Kenobi, perfect. That's what he would do. Kind of playing around with him, I mean, maybe. You could believe that, because he knows he's so much more powerful. Dragging through the fire, okay, yeah, that's probably on par. Letting him escape?
Limp off, bro?
No. Never. So...
both of Obi-Wan's escapes right now have just been really like with the Inquisitor, she just stabs the Grand Inquisitor and he's like, oh, sick, bro. And he just kind of like jogs off and she just walks over and watches the ship. She's like, I'm gonna get your ass.
Yeah.
And that's it. She doesn't like... I feel like Episode 3-esque would have been someone jumping onto the ship, like stabbing the lightsaber in so that they like stay on the ship, carving like a freaking hole in there and going in and being like, all right, let's go. I'm taking you in, bro. Yeah. You know? But it was just like, oh man, they got on the freaking slow cargo ship. Damn, bro.
Guess I'm gonna watch and track him down later instead.
You're gonna wait till there's like 6 different places that they could be. And that's the thing with the chase, is it's never like... the pacing of it is so wrong. Because it's like, wait, we kind of need you to slow down a little bit at this point. It's like, okay, I'll just kind of watch them fly off then.
Yeah, and that's one problem with it being episodes as well, is that kind of things have to kind of come to a natural conclusion at the end of each episode. So there almost has to be that lull.
Yeah.
Just to kind of like keep you thinking about what just happened. But like, so your mind has just that little bit of satisfaction where, okay, things kind of wrapped up, slowed down at the end. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happened.
What next?
Yeah, what's going to happen next? What's going to bring you back? And which, funnily enough, I feel like is something they've done really well in the Mandalorian series. I don't know why it's been just a little off here. I don't know if the new characters they're trying to introduce are just too much or what it is, but something's just a little bit off with everything so far.
Agreed. I don't know. I mean, because obviously it's all written already.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
everything's
not
like just needs to be released. That's all that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Everything's filmed, edited, perfect how it was meant to be.
So it's not going to be a thing where it's like, oh, they don't really like this chick, maybe we should kill her off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which, that's how just series are so different from when they're released on TV. Because that crap would happen all the time. Like, hey guys, we're getting a lot of people saying they don't like this character. Maybe they move or die.
Yeah.
And we use that to just make it, like, really dramatic.
Yeah.
You know?
Make a really dramatic episode about how this person dies or how they have to move away and aren't coming back ever again.
And what's that going to do to the other characters? You know, they could do that week by week because it was literally like, okay, we release this on Wednesday, Friday is when we'll be shooting a new scene, you know, and we'll have the script ready.
Yeah. And, I mean, they just can't do this because everything was, before they even officially announced the release date, they're basically done with the entire series.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe some minor editing here and there of simple stuff, but they know what the show is and they know exactly what is to be released.
Yeah,
So,
this is a couple of years in the making, probably.
Yeah, 3 years
You know?
at least, probably.
So, I don't know, it's wild. It's wild. Also, I don't know why, I kind of was hoping Vader's voice was going to be a little bit more Hayden Christian-y.
Oh, really?
I kind of was.
I think we'll get more. I mean, we definitely, it's for sure Hayden Christensen in the suit. That's been confirmed.
Yeah.
Which is cool just to think about that it's actually Anakin in the suit.
Yeah.
But I think we'll get more of him being Anakin as well. Because we saw like that glimpse of him turning around, which that's new. That's not something they like filmed for Revenge of the Sith. That's something they had Hayden Christensen do.
It reminds me of it's like reminiscent of his turn outside the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. I think we'll get more of things like that. My hope for the next episode is we kind of start with a flashback of some kind in Obi-Wan's head as a dream or just as he's like, I guess, daydreaming as he kind of has been throughout since he found out Anakin is alive. Hopefully we get some sort of flashback that's a new scene that we technically haven't seen before somewhere.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool, I think.
And they've been teasing Qui-Gon a lot, bro.
Yeah.
If they don't bring freaking Qui-Gon out, I'm going to be really peeved.
I think it'll be the last episode if they're going to give him to us.
Yeah.
Just keep pulling that.
Qui-Gon,
Qui-Gon, we're gonna reel you in. Is he actually there? Yeah, who knows? I'm not surprised by anything they do or don't do at this point.
Yeah.
But we can hope. We can hope. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about those two things for now. One series we're super hyped about, loving all of it, excited for more. One we're a little bit more pessimistic about.
Yeah.
But hopefully we get continued goodness from both of them for the remaining ends of the respective seasons.
I mean, making any kind of content that has to do with any Skywalker is kind of a fool's errand at this point.
Yeah. It's so easy to get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to get it right. Spot on.
And there's so many people to disappoint.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, I mean, I called Vader the most iconic character in film and cinema history last time. I mean, I don't think that's too far off, even if I was being a little egregious. But, I mean, you can't get him wrong.
No, you can't. And they have already.
Yeah. Well, here's the next time we talk about it. We'll probably talk about Kenobi again when it is over, considering we're halfway through at this point. So hopefully next time there will be a lot more optimism about what happened. We'll have some more positive reviews to pass to you. And same with Stranger Things. Maybe we'll do it at the same time again. Just to kind of round out this little series of Stranger Things and Kenobi talk.
For sure.
But we look forward to that when it happens. We'll continue releasing episodes kind of more diverse. Probably in the next few times we'll talk about some music, maybe talk some more about different life things for us specifically. So if that's what your preference would be over this nerd talk, then we'll get to that soon. Don't you worry.
We're about it.
And we have no plan of stopping this. We're having fun so far, I think. At least I am. I won't speak for you.
Sure. I really enjoy it. It's awesome.
Good. Me too.
We'll get Lexi here on one of these soon.
Yep.
Not the nerd ones.
Not the nerd ones for Lexi. But
maybe Stranger Things.
No, we'll do a review on Posty's new album with you.
Did you listen to it today?
I haven't yet. I still need to. No, wait, save it. Save it.
That's coming soon. Posty review.
Little teaser.
Little teaser. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next time. This has been Tanner and Taylor on this podcast.
Whatever we call it.
Whatever. Peace.